What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist here with the one, the only
Gersh one.
Who I was right. Don't answer that.
Okay.
And today we're back at it, answering questions from you guys in another episode of For the Greater.
This is a video series where we answer the questions left by you, the viewer. If you have a question for us, comment down below. Put a question in front of your question because we get to those questions first.
Now, before we get to those questions, I do want to say that I'm sorry. You guys get to see my disheveled hair because it's too long, but also not too long, and it's too short, but also not too short. And I'm not talking about the hair on my head.
Exactly. And if you want to help the Sound Alchemist shave what he needs to shave, you can support the channel by giving us a super thanks. With that, we will give that funding over to the Sound Alchemist to you to get a Brazilian. Mm-hmm. But that brings us to today's question by Conan Holmes. Will or have the Tyranids invade the warp? If so, do we know what will happen? That's a good question.
Very interesting, because when it comes to the Tyranids, they seem to be like a very animalistic, predatory race, or species, I guess you can say, and they're just coming to consume. However, the theory states that they are being attracted to the Astronomicon.
Right. And part of like the reason why the Astronomicon is drawing them is like unknown, right? It's even unknown if it is the reason that they're there.
Yeah.
We have a 40 Facts video basically explaining all of the origin stories or origin theories as to why the Tyranids are invading the galaxy. But if that is true, it's one of those situations where it's like if the Tyranids, because the Tyranids are not technically, they can use warp powers, but they're not really like humans in that like their imprint shows up on the warp because they have the shadow of the warp.
Correct.
So it's one of those things where, like, why didn't they just target the Eye of Terror right away instead of using the Astronomicon? Wouldn't the Eye of Terror be more of a beacon than the actual Emperor himself? And, I mean, to answer your question, yes, there has been hive fleets that have gone into the warp. It's Hive Fleet Cronus?
I want to say it's Cronus, and they're made specifically to fight against chaos demons and stuff like that. Which is very interesting, because normally Tyranids just want to consume, and in order to consume, it has to be biomatter, living matter, physical matter. And of course, demons and chaos and all that is just like warp stuff.
Yeah.
Kill a demon, it goes back to the warp. There's nothing to eat.
So then the question then becomes, like, are the Tyranids not hit, like, if they're attracted to the Milky Way galaxy because of the Astronomicon, because of the psychic beacon, but they're not targeting warp storms or warp portals to try to like maybe they're attracted because they want to learn how to conquer the chaos or something like that. But wouldn't that mean that more hive fleets would try to do that when really there's only one that has been doing that? It's just a mystery, I guess.
Yeah, too many what-if scenarios are surrounding the Tyranids at this point in time. It's very interesting to see what exactly is their main goal. Because they do come from outside the galaxy. They can traverse the halo stars. So we know that they're pretty powerful in that sense. But why?
Right. And I guess one other thing, too, that I want to highlight is that the Tyranids are an intelligent species. So it's one of those situations where, yes, they have animalistic tendencies, but perhaps like the reason that they're not like focusing on the warp and trying to consume the warp and enter the warp is really because they know that they need to consume as much biomass that doesn't exist there. So they're sending like small fleets trying to get it. So again, to answer your question, we answered the first part, but the second part is like what happens when they enter the warp. They just wreak havoc.
Yeah.
But they don't like last in the warp that long because again, no biomass.
Not just that too, but if you cut off like the synapse, they're just going to revert to animalistic instincts.
Right, yeah. So the hive mind is always key. Good question, convoluted, and it makes us think.
Yeah. On to another one by Winter's Wrath. Do you guys think that the Tau have a higher potential than that of the Eldar at their height of their power in terms of tech, being the fastest growing race technologically already, but also having unstable warp travel? They do seem to be quite a ways off.
That's a really good question.
I think that they're really close, but at the same time, they're not quite there yet. There is one huge difference between the Tau and the Eldar that are making them to be, vastly different races, and that is their ability to harness warp powers. The Tau barely register as anything that Chaos and the Warp really wants to have around with. But at the same time, the Eldar were so powerful that in their golden age, they created a whole god, Slaanesh. Now, I don't see the Tau being able to do anything like this. However, there are inklings of maybe a god of the greater good. So who knows what's in store for them. But if the Tau keep advancing at this rate, then yeah, I definitely foresee them surpassing the Eldar in their height.
Right, yeah. It'll take a while, but eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Next question comes from K. Garcia. Is Gershwin okay? He has been blushing since the last for the Greater WAAAGH. Yeah, I had some type of allergic reaction to something that I ate. I think I had some kimchi pork belly tacos or something, and then my face got like super puffy.
Yeah, they probably added an extra like grotling in there by accident.
I'm allergic to grotlings. Only Gretchen. Next question.
This one's by Irish Monster. Are my questions not good enough, or do you just not like the Irish? LOL, JK. It's the first time I've seen you pop up in these For the Greater WAAAGHs. Mm-hmm. So maybe like the algorithm's pushing you away. But just keep trying. And if not, there's always the super thanks option. But again, it's not a necessity. So keep them coming, guys.
And we love the Irish.
Potatoes. Yum.
Mm-hmm. He didn't have a question. He just wanted
he was
to
just
make
wondering.
That statement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I guess that was his question. Why have you been ignoring him?
Yeah, just ask again.
Mm-hmm.
Like the big one does every single episode, he asks, do you think before I get into fights, I should rub my hands between my booty cheeks so that when I punch someone, they get poison damage? Why would you get... I mean,
yeah, it depends. Life is not a video game, but alas, we've seen that sometimes that's not true.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, because you're also putting yourself at danger, because in a fight, you never know what's going to happen, and if your draws fall and they see the stains, I don't think you could financially recover from that, my dude.
Although it could be like that Hey Arnold episode when Hey Arnold was going to fight, I think, Harold.
Was it Wolfgang?
Or maybe Wolfgang. And then he was like, I'm going to act crazy. And he played the crazy song. So it could be one of those situations where like, yeah, pull your pants down, rub your fists on your butt cheeks, and you'll be good. Because then nobody's going to want to fight you.
Yeah.
Like, you're crazy. Nobody would do that.
Mm-hmm.
Except me. Next question.
This one. This one's by Random Boring Guy. Great video as always, but what's that last kind of jazzy soundtrack at the end of your videos?
So that is an artist from Chicago. He hasn't created, he doesn't have any music or any recent music. He has a SoundCloud, and you can find his link in the description. So if you go scroll all the way down in the music, we have like lists of music artists that we use. His name is Municipal Vice, and he has like some really good music. He's a friend of the channel. Next question.
This one's by Haid Lee. Are intercessors practically useless now? Should I just turn mine into Death Company? So when it comes to the tabletop, it's been a long, long time since we played. So this may not be correct, but from what I heard back in the day, the intercessors are probably the worst model line, both rules and supplements and stuff like that. Like, they've just been really bad. So yeah, I would stay away from the intercessors, which kind of sucks because they do look pretty cool because they have like that like skull mask thing going on.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, make them into Death Company. When I was kind of toying around with making my own Death Company guys, those were the models I was looking at. So yeah, you can definitely do that.
And that's always been the case for pretty much every like stealth scout type of unit within like the other editions too.
Yeah.
I remember scouts were really, really good because of the rocket launcher, I think, or the sniper or something like that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like 2 editions where they sucked.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because GW understands that like they're relatively cheap to buy. So if you make a unit that is cheap to buy, really good on the tabletop, then...
Yeah, you're cutting off sales from other things.
Yeah.
And also, lore-wise, it doesn't make sense for them to be really good because
Right.
they're essentially Space Marines in training.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that's like where they start off with, and then they go into the heavy weapons team, then into like a tactical squad, and then into specialty units like that.
Right, yeah. Next question comes from Brian B. Since this is One Mind Syndicate, does this mean you're part of the Hive Mind?
I guess you could say that. Because we are of one mind, we are a syndicate. That's what the Necrons say. Or not the Necrons, that's what the Tyranids say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, when in Rome, do as the Romans do.
Mm-hmm. Eat chicken. And then last question, what do you have?
This one is one by Juan Jose Mendivil. Are there any unnecessary information that contributes to absolutely nothing? Like details of a person's appearance among the crowd, a backstory of a character to be invested in, or a tool on a wall that is mentioned once but never used?
So does that exist in 40K?
Oh, yeah, all the time. Just pick up a novel. It's like every other paragraph is just like supplementary. It's just like things to set the mood, showcase the architecture, the design of certain things. But yeah, a lot of that stuff, there's no fruition to it. Like you could say like the tear rolled down the young woman's pale skin ever so minutely that the crow in the third seat on the back corner noticed it. Does that matter? No.
Yeah. And it makes you think, the crow? What?
Yeah. Who? Why is there a crow in here?
But yeah, I think the Codex is riddled with that too, right?
Yeah, but I feel like the Codex usually has more meat to it. It gives you the key points faster than the novels do. But the novels also do give you they do paint the picture of the grander scale.
Yeah. But yeah. Mm-hmm. And those were the questions for today. If you guys have more questions for us, please comment down below. If you enjoy our videos, like we said, support us with a super thanks, and we'll talk tomorrow.
That's right. As always, it's been the Sound Alchemist,
Gersh1,
and we are out.